Good afternoon and welcome to the first ever Evently live chat show. We've been kind of already doing these with our sister brand Get Hitch. We've done two this week and they've done really, really well. We had Chris X and we had Mauro Gazan from Petite Events and I Do Not. Today we have something different. We have, which first of all, it's on Evently, our sister brand, and we're going to have a very special guest called Ken Attard, who's from Mindset Malta and Funsize Promotions. We're going to be talking mostly about mindset, how to use it in your personal lives, in your business, and how it's important to keep a good state of mind and a good mindset in whatever you do. So without further delay, I'm going to introduce into the stream my partner, Jonathan, and Ken. Just bear with me a second. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
How's it going?
it goes well.
It goes well. I love
It's
the blue polo you're sporting there.
I
Very
like
classy.
color.
Amazing. Yeah, it's the same color of your car, no? It's the same kind of baby blue.
Very similar, yes, actually. And
So-
blue is my favorite color. I have to admit
Okay.
that.
Amazing.
yeah. I've known Ken for quite some time now, well over 10 years, and he always looks sharp and colorful, so it's kind of his brand.
Amazing. All right. So, Ken, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
tell-
Thanks for
tell us-
inviting me.
Our pleasure. I'm really excited about the show because I'm really into what you're going to be discussing. So, if you could tell us, like, who Ken Attard is, what you do in fun size promotions and mindset and any other stuff that you do, would be great.
Okay, fantastic. Well, who am I? Oh, what a great question. I'm still figuring that one out. But anyway, so when it comes to, yeah, I am, just to make clear as well, I speak with this accent because I was born in Canada, but I came to Malta when I was 14. So I have been in Malta now for a good 40 years. Basically, I have a company which is called Funsize Promotions, and that's how I work through Evently as well, which is a promotional merchandise company. We produce any type of promotional merchandise that companies require from time to time for any type of campaigns they may have, from anywhere from a simple ballpoint pen to executive gifts. So that's one line and one area that I've been involved in one way or another for the last, for over 20 years at least. In one way or another. And then I also have recently launched at the beginning of this year, actually, I had made a decision at the end of last year to launch a Facebook page, which is called Mindset Malta.
Yeah.
And the reason I launched that was because I got involved in personal development probably a good 15, 16 years ago now, probably when I first actually met John.
Yep.
And at that time, I had just started. And I was just blown away by certain things in personal development and how the mind works and how we can actually use our mind to start creating the reality that we truly want. And I've been blown away ever since, and just kept learning and developing. And now at the end of last year, I just made a decision. I said, you know what, I really want to get out there more publicly to let people know how they can actually start to use their mind. Because most people tend to think that, life needs to be a continuous struggle. Life needs to be difficult. But in actual fact, my belief now is that life wasn't really meant to be a continuous struggle. So that's been a passion of mine. And I just love being able to help people, coach people, and help them move through, whether it's personal, whether it's through business, whatever it may be.
Okay, cool. So we're going to be mostly talking about that, right? So shall we split it in two, like mindset in life and your personal life and mindset in business? How would you
As
like
you
to go
wish.
about it?
I'm open to whatever you'd like and which way you'd like to go. Obviously, I guess business, entrepreneurship would be a great way to go as well, because we have a lot of people here who have businesses. I'm thinking, but then again, each and every person is an individual as well. So whatever we say really can be adopted to whatever you'd like, whether you want to adopt it to your personal life or to your business life. It's really intertwined, is the way I look at it.
Fair enough. So let's start from, there are businesses made up of individuals. So let's start from like an entrepreneur or a group of entrepreneurs are individuals. So let's start from the personal. We can discuss personal. Like, what mindset is in general, what it means for someone, and then we can go on to discuss in business.
Sure. Well, my mindset. I mean, I use mindset. It's a word that most people sort of can relate with, and it's really a way of thinking and the way you think. What a lot of people don't realize is that where your focus goes is generally going to be directly related to the results that you're getting in your life, whether it be in your business, whether it be in your relationships, whether it be in your health. And this is how we can actually recognize um, how we are thinking, because a lot of thinking that does go on um, is also somewhat unconscious for a lot of people, in the sense that we have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. The conscious mind is when we're focused on a task and we're very mindful of that task that we're doing. We're using the conscious mind, which is the front part of the brain, which makes us so much different from animals, for instance.
Yeah.
And then we also have the subconscious mind, or let's say they also call it the reptile brain part, the oldest part of our brain, which are programs that are literally running. Now, these programs that are running, sometimes we don't even know how they're running. And the simple reason is that at a very young age, we do get programmed by our parents, by the people we're surrounded by what we are feeding our mind constantly. So it's mindset is a matter of learning how to actually shift and change the way you think so that you create new programs that are more resourceful than the ones that you may have running. Because if right now you look at what's happening outside of you and the results that you're getting in your life, and some of them are not results that you want, then obviously there are some thoughts going on that are happening that are affecting those results. Now, how can I change those thoughts so that I can change the results that I'm getting? That's where I come in. That's where I help people. And obviously those can help as well within a business as well. I mean, right now we're seeing huge change. A word that's come up recently for myself that has made, which I think is going to be a huge impact, is if people can is adaptation. We've all had to make some adaptations to our lives because of, let's say, the circumstances that have happened.
Yeah.
Now, those circumstances are pretty well the same for most people.
Correct.
Now, how people are adapting to those circumstances can vary from one individual to another.
For sure.
And the way they vary can make a huge difference on the results that they're actually going to get from it, and from how they are adapting. No different than how our lives were previous to all of this, because we all have circumstances happening.
Correct. And the right mindset will have a direct correlation to the quality of life or the level of business that you might have. It's not, as many people say, the surrounding circumstances that will make the big difference, because like you mentioned, right now we are all going through the same circumstances, but the level of success and the quality of mind and mental health that you have has to do a lot with the mindset that you currently have right now. So one affects the other. So if there are external sources that are affecting it, that's undeniable. I mean, it's not about denying it, but how you go through it and how you come out of it, that is purely done to the mindset of your mindset and the mindset of the people around you.
Absolutely. And if we look at, like, we were looking at it from a business point of view as well, so we intertwine this, like I said. There are some business people out there possibly that once this all occurred, could have possibly shut down completely. If all three of us decided to do that, for instance, we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. So you have some businesses who may have decided, oh man, I need to completely shut down. Now I understand as well, different businesses are going to be affected in different ways. So, for instance, if I took myself, for example, when it came to promotional merchandise, for instance, without a doubt, for the most part, most businesses right now are not. It's not top of mind for them. You know, if I'm going to approach them and say, "Listen, are you interested in doing some sort of promotional campaign?" Most of them are going to say, "Listen, man, I'm just trying to make ends meet right now. I'm not going to be spending money on something like that."
Yeah.
So I could look at it that way. But on the other hand, I can look at it and say, okay, so what new ideas can I come up with? What new ideas can I come up with that I think could be favorable for businesses to possibly not necessarily launch right now? Because I think an essential factor for businesses right now is that they have the mindset where they're not just thinking about reaction and solving issues right now, this particular moment. Some of those will need to be addressed, but a lot of businesses need to be looking at a couple of months down the road, and what are they doing right now
Yeah.
so that they are prepared more than ever to get going. At whatever point in time they can start to get going full speed ahead.
Yeah. In
Whether
fact,
that's a week from now, whether that's 3 weeks from now, whether that's 6 weeks from now. So from my standpoint, that's what I'm looking at. And so what do? I stay in touch with clients. I make sure that they know that I'm still around, that I haven't disappeared. And I think something that is coming out of this as well, out of this whole situation, is that there's the human aspect, and people are starting to understand that human aspect, that compassion, that very important role, that even business to business, my clients understand that I care. I'm not necessarily just calling them for business, but I'm calling them to let them know, hey, listen, man, I'm here. You know, if you need something, I'm here. I care.
yeah.
And I think it's going to play a really important role for businesses down the road when they're building more and more rapport with their clients.
Yeah, and that is something that we've done ourselves as well. Ben was the first one that mentioned it. It's like the first week. Let's just use it to stay in touch with clients, see if we can help them with anything, even if it's not directly related to what we're doing to help them with yesterday. And for instance, Ben yesterday was helping a client setting up their CRM system. We are not in that space, but it's a way of giving value, which is what business is about, and helping others, which is part of our core values, and the human aspect, showing that you care. It makes a big difference. So he suggested first, we went for it. Clients were highly respectful of it, and this is one of the reasons that we created this show as well, right? To stay in touch with our clients and stay relevant, and also give value to our audience, which we've had very good feedback so far.
Absolutely, and that will pay. That will pay down the road. You know, so even intertwining as well and understanding. Again, with a lot of people, what they don't understand right now, as well as this, is that a lot. And again, this is my personal opinion, but a lot of fear was created. Personally, I believe a lot of unnecessary fear was created. Don't get me wrong. We need to follow the directives and all, the social distancing and all that. But I really believe that there was so much fear created, and on a global level,
Yeah.
so much so that it actually put governments up against their backs against the wall as well. For instance, that they had to make certain decisions, and that fear is what has affected so many people. Because what a lot of people don't realize, if you want to intertwine it with mindset, is that every single, we have about 50 trillion cells in our body, and every single cell is connected, and every single cell actually is almost like it has its own brain, and that's connected. Each cell is connected with each other, and each cell is connected with our brain, and the way we're thinking is affecting every single cell of our body. Now, if I've put myself in a constant mode of fear, so it's prolonged periods, I'm actually using up a lot of my energy, which is going focused towards that fear. What does that do? When a person is in fear mode, So let's not exaggerate, but let me go back to the olden times, and many people have heard this before. But if I was face to face with a tiger and I needed to run, I'm not really going to be very creative at that moment in time. My body and my mind is not thinking about being creative. It's thinking about running and getting away and becoming safe. So if we bring it back to where we are now and people in fear constantly, so business people, for instance, going into fear, and if they're constantly focused on that fear, that stifles creativity. So the minute it stifles our creativity, because now we don't have the energy to be creative, now we're not thinking outside the box. Now we're thinking, we're predominantly thinking of how are we going to make the best of this, not even make the best of the situation. It's almost like, how are we going to get out of this? Like, I don't know. And we're not thinking outside the box to find new solutions that possibly we're absolutely unaware of because we're so scared.
Yes.
We're so in fear mode.
Fear and stress, there is a biological reaction that happens. The body releases a chemical called cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and
Yep.
that is very good to get us to act, and a small amount of it is necessary for us to function. Like
Absolutely.
if we're getting close to a deadline or someone has their homework and they haven't done it, you get the fear, they get the stress, and they get it done very fast. However, if you live constantly under fear or stress, then there is going to be a negative reaction on the body. You can see it physically and even mentally. So creatively, you're not going to think as creatively because you can't.
You just
Your
can't.
body
You can't.
is paralyzed by this stress hormone or this funk that you are in, this terrible mindset.
Absolutely. And this is why we don't want to stay in that constant state where we have the cortisol active for long periods of time, because again, it's going to stop us from actually taking any activity. And you mentioned like the homework and people leaving, but so what this is, and this is why it's so important for businesses right now, they need to be running movies. So what do I mean by running movies? So in our mind, every single thought we have is represented by a picture, by a movie, by things we're saying to ourselves, what we call internal auditory, things sometimes we even say out loud. So we've got all of these things going on. So every single thought we have are represented by these pictures or movies. When our creativity is stifled, we're only looking at the movie up to a certain point. So we're looking at, oh my God, my business has to shut down right now because I'm not generating any sales. Now, when we can use our thoughts in a way that we can relax more, this is why, for instance, meditation is so important. This is why what all this that's happened as well for a lot of people has been a big eye opener, because it's actually made people slow down a tiny bit for the most part. So when we do slow down a bit, now I can start to function a bit more in a more of a relaxed mode where I've quieted my mind, and now I'm running a movie beyond this period where I'm going, okay, so right now this is what's happening, but in a month's time when things are starting to come back to, I don't even want to use the word normal because we don't know what that is going to be yet, but so or my business is going to start to turn around again. How am I going to start to bring people back in through the door? How am I going to start to, and I can start to think about those things now if I'm not so stifled and in that fear.
Yeah. So
That's why it's so important.
yeah. So I agree 100% when you're saying, like, when you're in constant fear mode or you're in anxious mode, you cannot be creative. So the first step is to relieve that anxiety or that stress, right? So that you can have a clear mind. And you already kind of touched on it, like mindfulness through meditation, all this.
Yeah.
What tips and suggestions or activities would you recommend to the audience, like, to start breaking down that stress barrier? Because imagine, I don't know, I am any business, but let's say I'm a restaurant and I literally had to close down and I cannot do takeaways. My cuisine doesn't
Yeah.
really, fit takeaways. So literally I have 100% costs, no revenue. So I am
Yeah.
in panic mode, right? So how do I
Right.
start to break down that panic to start thinking creatively?
Sure, no problem. So yeah, this is a great question. So one of the first things that people can do is, like I said, is slow down and just take a step back.
Hmm.
Just take a step back, because what happens to people is a lot of people get overwhelmed because they're fully engaged in what's going on. They're submersed in it. Everywhere they look, it's going on and they're fully immersed in it. But if they can just take a step back and look at the situation from afar, automatically this is going to start to relieve some of it. It's not going to be as overwhelming.
Right.
So, like I said, as if we were to look at it from a mindset point of view and from a picture, I might be running them. I might be seeing, my restaurant closing down. I might be seeing, like I said, 100%, expenses only. This is
Yeah.
all I have. But if I start to take a step back and start to quiet down and start to look at it from afar, and now I can maybe start to, and I think this is an important thing as well, is to accept the situation as it is.
Hmm.
Once we can accept that it is what it is,
Yeah.
like you can resist it as much as you want, and when you resist something, you're just gonna get more pushback. So
Yeah.
so I'll give you the example. If I were to walk up to someone and literally push them, the chances are they're probably going to push me back, and possibly harder,
Yeah.
right?
And there's
Possibly
also,
harder. So what a lot of businesses aren't doing, or people might not be doing, is accepting the situation and saying, okay, it is what it is. Now, let me look from it from take a step back. Okay, just take a step back and look at it as from an observer point of view now.
yeah.
So I'm not looking at just from my eyes, but I'm looking from afar and seeing myself in the situation. And okay, so now what can we do? My restaurant has closed down, and as a number of them have done, okay, I can offer takeaway, I can offer delivery. Now there are some businesses that may need to weigh it out. What are the alternatives? Are there alternatives? If I look at myself, I decided to shift a little more towards coaching, towards giving more dedication to learning more for myself, so that I can help people get through these, so that I can, if the opportunity arises, because a lot of people talk about luck, and really and truly, I heard a definition of luck many, 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 many years ago, before I even got involved in personal development, and it's stuck with me. It's being prepared for the opportunity. A lot of people look at people and go, "Oh man, look how lucky he is! He found the perfect job, or opened the perfect business at the perfect time." Yeah, but and there is timing involved, but that person was prepared for that opportunity when it arose.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not even a big tech guy. I mean, call me crazy, but my promotional merchandise business, now this is going to sound wacko for a lot of people. I don't even have a website for it. It was only in the last year where I decided to approach you guys and say, well, maybe I could use Evently through the internet to create a little more, because a lot of my work is done through word of mouth and experience and over the years. But it came to a point now, for instance, when it came to doing call, I had to get onto the internet and say, how could I do a conference call so that I continue to do sales training with a client, for instance, or I continue to do coaching with a client. So I had to adapt. Again, I come back to that word adapt, so that we can make the shifts and say, okay, let me get through these challenges. And for me, one of the things that's very useful is that there have been many times in my life, like most people, who have had to adapt. I was just talking about this today. I used to play ice hockey. I used to skate from an early age of 5 and 6, and I played ice hockey till 14. I ended up moving to an island where ice does not exist. Talk about having to adapt. So it's absolutely important that we do adapt, and the quicker we accept the situation, find ways to adapt, then we're going to be able to move ourselves forward.
Go on.
Yeah, and when bad things happen and our bad situations happen, or for whatever reason, it could be mistakes that you made or decisions that you made in the past, or like what's happening with COVID. Sometimes, if you think about it, just take yourself a step back and from an observer point of view and see what have I done wrong, how can I learn from it, how can I adapt, and how can I do things differently. Sometimes that is when the magic happens. Like for us, eventually happened. We took action on it after a project that we were working didn't pan out the way we were planning to pan out because it was beyond our control. But what the amount of things that we learned from it and how much things we took over from it to make the next platform a success were astounding. So a lot of people think that failure or negative instances are the opposite of success, and in reality, it's part of it. It's part of the process. You can't have 100% success rate every time, because if you were doing that, you were I am probably either in denial, or you were shooting your targets were too low. So when these things happen and you adapt, you discuss them, you learn from it, and you learn from it from an honest point of view. That is a big difference, and I think that is one thing that we do very well here. We are brutally honest, and we debate things and look at ourselves in an honest point of view. We don't say because we got unlucky or this happened, but just this happened. What are we going to do now? And that is the most important. Or what are we not going to do now? Because that's sometimes even harder, deciding what not to do, not just what to do, but what not to do anymore. So whether it's
Oh,
a bad.
go ahead, Ben. Go ahead, Ben.
what
You wanted to
what
say
I
something?
was gonna say as well, to add on what was saying you were saying before, where like where people are in denial, that kind of touches on the like bereavement, right? For many people, if you are shut down, it's like you're losing a loved one. Many people, their business is their baby. So you're going through the stages of bereavement. I don't know how many there are, like four or five, like where it's denial,
Five, I think.
yeah, and then justification, and then you're coming to acceptance, right? So we need to go through those stages, and we maybe there are things that we can do to catalyze those stages by working out, by speaking to friends, by going for a walk, by painting, by doing anything that kind of releases some endorphins. I just go on a walk after work every day, and you immediately feel that your body is easing out. So
Absolutely.
what I would say is that to get into a good mindset, you need to generate the mindset to be able to fight back to the negativity and all this stuff. So, and use whatever you can, even if it's eating good food. You have the opportunity. You're at home. You don't need to get takeout all the time. You can actually make good food, use superfoods, whatever. Not going into that, super mumbo jumbo stuff, but or spiritual stuff. Just literally stuff that your body needs: food, rest, walks, fresh air, whatever.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it's really interesting because it boils down to decisions.
Hmm.
We're constantly making decisions. We're constantly making decisions, and whatever they are in our life. So there's whether it's decisions about food, whether it's decisions about our relationships, whether it's decision about our work, whether it's decision about our wealth, whatever it may be, we're constantly making decisions. And what's really important to understand, that because I really want to make clear, when it comes to mindset, it isn't a matter of like it's not a big thing. Like even when it comes to meditation, and one of the reasons that I feel it's so important, because we hear about what I've come to realize for myself is this, is because we hear about action a lot, and action is important. It's absolutely vital. So people need to take action.
Yeah.
What I think a lot of people don't realize is that when you have decided to stay quiet, for instance, and for instance, let's say meditate. I'll use meditate, and meditate is really just quieting the mind.
Yes.
It's quieting the mind,
There-
and there are ways to do that very simply.
yeah.
But the thing is this: what a lot of people don't realize is this: is that when you make a decision to do that, that actually is an action. And I can guarantee, and I can guarantee this now out of experience, that action is potentially more important than any other action that you're going to take. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you why. Because when we do quiet the mind, it allows for inspiration. It allows for inspiration to come in.
Mhm.
Call it whatever you want, from your source, from God, from the divine, something bigger than us that is out there. And when you allow yourself to tap into that source, what it does is it actually gives you, inspires you to take certain actions then. Because it's very easy to go about your life being very busy doing nothing. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there
Yeah.
very busy doing nothing.
Yeah.
But when you take inspired action, it's going to be a heck of a lot more resourceful. So all of a sudden, I don't know, the right person bumps into you. Now, we've all had situations, I can guarantee we've all had situations in our lives where we said, holy mackerel, this, again, I'm going to use an inverted commas, bad situation, because there are no bad situations, bad or good. It's just the way you frame things. But this particular event in my life, which I deemed bad at the time, led me to this circumstance, which led me to this person, who led me to this person, who led me to this person, which has brought me right here.
Mhm.
And this isn't this amazing? So, so when we quiet down, focus on what we want. Truly focus on what the outcome that we want, whether it's within our business, whether it's within our relationships, whether it's for our health. And then situations, circumstances, people will actually, and this is the part that's really challenging for a lot of people to understand. Those circumstances, people, situations will actually start to present themselves to us.
Yeah.
We don't have to go running after the business. The business starts coming to us. And this is what I really want business people, people in general, to understand, that your life doesn't have to be a continuous struggle. It can be a lot more easier. Does it mean that you're not going to have challenging situations? Absolutely, you're going to have. That's how you're going to grow. And that's how you're going to deal with them and become a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. And really and truly, that's all I can ask of myself. That's all I could ask of anybody is that they become maybe a bit of a better version of themselves than they were yesterday. And if
Yeah.
you can do that on a consistent basis, wow, the results that you can achieve in your life, through the roof. You can't even imagine.
Yeah, a few weeks ago we were having a discussion about struggle, and I kind of put it like working out. So it's fine to have struggle. It's fine to work out for an hour or 2 hours a day. But if you're struggling or working out for 10 hours, 12 hours, then you're not doing anything positive, right? You're just hurting your body, and it's just going to do the opposite of what you are doing. So if you're under constant stress or constant, then it's not working out. You need to see what you need to fix or adjust to improve the quality of life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm seeing, tips how to stay in a good state of mind as well. And again, it intertwines with mindset and business. How do we stay in a good set of mind during these times? Well, it one of the simplest things is think about things that make you feel good. You could simply think about, I don't know, one of your favorite foods. The minute you think about your favorite food, you're probably going to feel pretty good. Put a smile on your face right away. Those people who have family, the minute they think about their children, Jonathan, think about your child, you're going to
Yeah.
feel good. And not only that, it leads us to feeling grateful. And again, this is another thing that's happened during this time, that is, a lot of people, have, found, actually stopped and realized, that there's a lot to be appreciative, a lot to be grateful for. And, the fact that, okay, someone's stuck in their house, for instance, and, for some reason they can't go out, but you have food, you have drink. You have people around you that are willing to take care of you. You have people around you who are willing to, if you need something, um, you know, common ground for a lot of people. And my plea to people during this time as well is this, because we talk about, a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, we're all united, we're all in this together." Yeah, that's fantastic and that's great, and I think that's a great thing that's come out. At the same time, please be very mindful of what you are putting out there on social media. For instance, if you want to go on a rant, by all means go on a rant. Just realize this though. How is that being resourceful to you? And now you're also bringing on 100 other people potentially going on a rant as well. How does that help? It doesn't. And I get it. There are frustrations out there, but this is the same thing. Like, there's so much kindness out there right now as well. So share that kindness so that other people are aware there's kindness out there.
So would you say that kind of you're touching on the first part, you were touching on gratitude. Would you say that gratitude is a mindset? Well, would you say it's a mindset, first of all, that you are in a state of like gratitude for the good that you have? It could, you touched on luck as well. And let's be honest, we are lucky that we're not born on a boat being sunk in the Mediterranean. You know what I mean? We're
We
actually,
are at the same time, and don't get me wrong, it's everyone's on their path. Whoever I speak to, and yes, we're fortunate. Some of us are on paths that appear more fortunate than others.
Yeah.
They appear because that's the way we frame it. Whatever's happening, and I understand that there's stuff out there that looks horrific, but at another level, and that's might be another discussion another time. But understand everyone is on their own path, and they're on that path for a reason, and for a reason because that's how people grow, and that's the path they're on right here. And that will go to a whole different discussion, I can guarantee you, which we can't get into. But gratefulness, and like anything else, this is what's so powerful about it. Like anything else, it's practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's practice. Like anything else, you get really good at something. You become really good at something by practicing. I make it a point for myself, and I have for a number of years now,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I apply every morning before I get started. Now, there was a time in my life that I knew about it, but I just didn't apply it. So this is there's a lot of people who know the right food to eat, for instance, that they know is going to make them more healthy. But do they actually apply it?
Yeah,
They don't. Maybe they're not ready for it. That's okay.
I think
That's really okay.
one of the most challenging things is not the knowing part, like the knowing intellectually, but how to actually do it and how to do it constantly, right? To do it long enough where it becomes a good habit. I think that is one of the most challenging parts, that everyone, even myself, struggles with. Like you can do something for, let's say, working out regularly, 2 months, 3 months, and then something happens that throw you off your game, and I go off it, and then I have to start over again. And I realize that it's a very challenging thing for many people.
That's another brilliant word that I would like to bring into attention to people. So we talked about adapting. Another one is consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I look back on my life as well, and I can guarantee you, anyone who's listening, you guys as well, look back on your life when you had success. And I can guarantee you it's because you were consistent at what you were doing. Whatever it was. So whether we had success at school, we were consistent with our studying or whatever it may be. When we had success with our health, it was because we were consistent. When we had success in our relationships, it's because we were consistent. And we did certain things that gave us the results. Now, this is the interesting part, going back to way to the beginning we were talking about, because we have some unconscious programs, the minute we start to run those unconscious programs. So if I drive home every day the same route that I drive every day, and then I have a particular day where I need to do an errand before I go home. If I'm consciously aware of where I'm going, I will go do that errand. But notice how many times all of a sudden we lose that conscious thought about going for that errand, and all of a sudden we're automatically driving home.
Yep.
Why? Because our
Guilty.
unconscious thoughts just kick in. The unconscious program kicks in. All of a sudden we're driving home, and then all of a sudden we become conscious again and go, oh no, wait a second, I was supposed to go to the supermarket before I went home. Why did I do that? Your unconscious programs. So this is what happens. Sometimes we fall back on them. But then as we practice, as we continue to practice, and there are many ways, there's audio programs nowadays to help us change those unconscious thoughts as well, so that we create new habits, so that we create new ways, new neural pathways in our brain, so that we can do things differently, so that we can get better results. You have really good programs running as well. Those ones, you keep intact, you keep them going, or you make them even better.
Yeah,
Um,
and you also need tied into consistency is and again touching on what you. I'm actually reading a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by
Okay,
Daniel Kahneman. It's an
okay.
amazing book, and it talks a lot about luck. And life is like a game of odds, right? But when people say that because I'm unlucky, or I have been lucky or unlucky, so that guy's lucky, I am unlucky. Everybody has the same kind of odds in a way. Some people might have worse odds, but the perseverance is extremely important because it will keep you going through the bad odds. So if you have two people where one person had some bad luck, I don't know, their shop had to close down and they gave up, they would say, I was unlucky and that's it. But if you had to close your shop, but you kept on going, you persevered, that is where you're making your own luck, right? Because you're getting up from the ground again to take on more odds, basically.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, I would tend not to use. For me, it wouldn't be a word of luck, because again, to me, it's decisions, and it's where your focus goes. You can look at. You have a choice, like, and where your focus goes, that's where your energy is going to flow. So if even in this whole, let's say let's use the circumstances that we're in now, if my focus is predominantly looking at where I'd like to go and the good things that are coming out of it, and where I want to head towards, then again I'm going to be presented with circumstances, situations that are going to lead me that way. If I shift my focus and predominantly I'm thinking of all the crap that's happened and all the horrible things that have happened, and constantly, and this is where what you feed your mind comes into it, because if what you're feeding your mind is constantly focused on all the crap, for lack of a better word, then that's predominantly how you're going to frame and how you're going to see your life.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. It may sound very simple, but that's really how it is. But if I look and focus towards all the good and all the great things that can come out of it, and where I want to head towards, having, that's what I'm talking about, running the movies. Where do I want to end up? Essentially, how am I going to prevent this from ever happening again to myself? So for those people who have businesses where this literally shut them down, even for myself, I looked at it and said, okay, what could I create in my life so that if this were to ever happen again, how could I keep going? How could I have a money stream, for instance, that could keep going even during times like this? Because there are people right now who are still making lots of money.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
I don't mean to be insensitive for anyone who has closed the business right now. I mean,
Absolutely.
I will respect anyone who even starts a business, because I know that it's not the easiest decision a person can make. However, I also know that if the business was shut down after 1 month, it has to do with some decisions that happened 6 months or even a year before this happened. So if we don't have enough liquidity to save us for a month, and I mean this in the most respectful way, usually it has to happen because there were other circumstances that affected this before. And this happens to us as individuals as well. So the current state that I am in right now, physically, mentally, it's not just of what happened today, right? But there were some building blocks or things I missed out along the way, a few weeks or months before, that made me who I am today, for better or for worse. So that's the
Absolutely.
journey part, the process.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%, John. And I'll make that very clear as well. Like, it's never easy for anybody who has to close a business without a doubt. And I can speak like this because I can tell you I've closed, and not now. So I've had this experience when supposedly, but I've closed, at least three businesses and had to. I'm just wondering now because, people close a business and we look at it predominantly as, again, in inverted commas, a bad thing. I can guarantee you that there are going to be some business people out there, or people who had to close businesses, are going to look back in a year's time, 2 years' time, and might actually be saying that was such a good thing that happened. Because remember now, people who maybe had to close a business and are going to restart, people say, oh, I lost everything, I have to restart. Remember this, you haven't lost everything, because where you're starting from now is a whole different position than when you started originally.
For sure.
You probably have the mindset and you know how to build up a lot quicker, and you probably have a lot more wisdom, and you're coming from a different perspective now of how to actually, so you're actually not starting from zero, you're starting with a lot more in hand than you did when you had started maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or whatever it may be. So I have a lot of compassion. I have a lot of empathy for those people who did have to maybe take the decision to close, because I know how difficult the decision. But I held on to some businesses that I shouldn't even have held on to for maybe 2-3 years, and because I was so attached to it. So learning how to detach and say, okay, this is probably for the best right now. I need to accept the situation as it is. How am I going to move forward?
That's a very common thing as well, and it has to do a lot with some of the things that we learn of what actually makes someone or a company successful, right? Is to never quit. So that's ingrained, and I still believe it. I believe in it. Like, to persevere, that is a very important trait or factor that makes you successful or not. So knowing when to quit, now that's a tough one, because it goes against everything that practically you learn and you believe in yourself. But knowing that you should quit, or knowing that you should change, that's a tough decision to make. But usually, in my experience at least, when you make that decision, then you're better off because of it.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. You wanted to say something, Ben?
Yeah, I'm just saying that I am aware of the time that we are basically 9 minutes over the usual time. I know this kind of conversation can keep going on forever, really. We need to continue this over a beer or something. Um, uh, but I was wondering if maybe we can start wrapping up. And I just wanted, again, it's been an amazing discussion, and we've covered a lot of topics which are close to my heart as well. But I was wondering if maybe we could bring it to a close here. And I was going to ask you, Ken, like, what is the best advice that you could give the audience out there right now with all that has been discussed today? What would you say is the best advice?
The best advice that I would give right now is this. I made a decision during this time that I think the best advice for me was that every day I create some sort of purpose for my day. So, okay, I understand we have some limitations in the sense of people aren't going to work, maybe they're confined to home, but I make a decision to have purpose every single day. So, what do I mean by that? Have purpose. So today I might decide, you know what, this is a working day, for instance, and I'm going to accomplish a certain amount of work. There are other purposes as well. Like, I mean, we have a lot of parents who are at home right now and have to take care of their kids right now at home and have to keep them occupied. So it could be a purpose where, today I'm going to find some new ways of keeping my kids occupied, possibly educational if need be. So, finding what, actually getting up at a time that is where I can get a bit of exercise in. So I have, again, there's something that's driving me throughout the day. So I always have that sense of purpose. And for me, I found
Yeah,
that
that's
it's
super
worked
important.
extremely well. I'm actually finding the days going by very, very quickly.
Yeah, just like this
It's
50-minute session. I can't believe that
yeah,
50 minutes have
exactly. Like it's
passed.
just like it goes, and
It's great.
I've got another one this evening. I've got another two this evening, so it's really cool. So it's just like, how it's finding that purpose. Accepting, again, we already mentioned accepting what the situation is right now and saying, okay, let me find purpose. And the other thing that I would say is preparing yourself. Part of that purpose for me anyways, was preparing myself so that as we move forward, as we come back to going back into whatever normality you want to call it, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
I haven't been sitting back for 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever it's going to be. And then all of a sudden I find myself and go, oh, wow, man, that was a waste of time. Using my time and going, okay, how can I prepare myself better? For me, it's learning whatever it may be so that I can, I'll be honest with you. I never went on a conference call before, this came up, and now I had to learn how to do it myself.
Yeah.
So you learn and you go on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Cool.
big part of adapting is the learning part. And if I have one suggestion, given that we have more free time right now, it's a bit more relaxed. Bettering yourself, learning new skills or learning new things, it's definitely something that's going to make you feel better as a person, and it's going to help you grow as a business as well, if that's your thing. So yeah. Thank you, Ken. That was really amazing information. I'm sure everyone who will watch it is going to get something out of it, if not some things. And it's a pleasure meeting you, my friend.
Fantastic. I've enjoyed it immensely. If I could just briefly mention, if someone would like to follow Mindset Malta on Facebook,
Yeah.
by all means, it's free. I just put up some videos every so often. They're free to join in there, and I look forward to anybody wanting to touch base. They can do it through there as well. And I would gladly, help anybody if they're having a tough time getting through something right now. I would gladly be available for them for free, no problem whatsoever.
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay, guys. So I'll just let you say the final words before we end the stream. So I don't know, John or Ken, if you'd like to put in some final words and wave.
I thought
goodbye.
mine were final, but I'm good. I mean, you know what? I could go on, absolutely, but my final words is like, people understand that everything, as challenging as it is to understand, everything is perfect exactly the way it is. Whatever has happened for the greater good of mankind. I have full faith in humanity that this is going to be, and we're going to go into a time where everything is going to be absolutely even better, even better than we could even imagine right now than it's ever been. So just be patient, get yourself prepared, and have a really, just understand it's going to be a fantastic time for anybody who wants to accept it and wants to move forward, and just go for it. There are no limitations out there.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
All right, guys. All right.
Thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure.
Okay.
Me too. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon.
So I'm just going to bring the streams out here. So there you have it. Great session with Ken Attard from Mindset Malta. We touched on a lot of points about mindset, what it means for the personal, for you as a person, for you as a business, how you can use mindset to move forward, how you can use mindset to get you through the current situation, how to get yourself up, brush yourself off, and do something good with your life. We touched on how you can use certain activities in your life to get yourself into a good mindset. Lots of positive words from Ken as well. Again, if you'd like to hear more or speak to Ken directly, you can go on Mindset Malta. From our end, we'd like to thank you for this great session. The audience has been great as well in terms of viewership. We look forward to the other sessions. On both Get Hitch and Evently. If you'd like to be part of the show, please give us a shout. If you like what you're hearing and seeing, please share. Please invite people to the page. Whatever. It would be great if you could get the word out. Thanks, guys, and have a great afternoon. See you next time. Bye bye.